Different types of investments you could make within your company, and you could then expect different types of return on that investment. This is how I look at capital allocation within a business, and I've also discussed this with Robert Hagstrom, for example, the author of the Warren Buffett Way, who thinks in similar ways. So if you imagine your business as an onion with different layers to it, we could say that the closer we are to the core of the onion, the higher return on investment you could expect from when you invest money. And the closer you are to the outer layer of the onion, the lower but more secure and stable return you could see on that investment. So let me explain further. In the center, you could have investments regarding your own happiness, your own skills, your own abilities. For example, if you improve your way of selling, for example, if you can have a higher closing rate on sales calls, for example, that would have a really big impact on your business as a whole. So it's very much related to you and the output that comes from your work, basically. The next layer could entail software, different types of systems that make your business and you more efficient, that help you in your work. Perhaps you install this email marketing program that helps you to communicate with lots of people at the same time, and you make sure to capture leads from your website and follow them up on email, for example. That could be in the second layer. In the third layer, we could have marketing and activities that increase customer satisfaction, for example, or that help you bring in more customers. So communication to people that builds your brand, for example, that make the right type of people drawn to your business, that could really help to get new customers and to grow the business. So that's in layer 3. And in the outer layer, here we could have, for example, index funds or investments in other businesses. So here we could expect quite a low but quite stable return on that investment. So if we use profit from our core business to invest in other businesses or in an index fund, we could then expect to see a stable 7% per year on that investment. So of course the stock market will go up and down. Some years the investment will be minus and some it will be plus, but on average it has increased about 7% after inflation for the past 100 years. So can you see the difference here? In the outer layer we have a low but very stable return on that investment, and in the center we could have a very, very high return on that investment, but the probability is also much lower, so the risk is much higher. If you look at different courses or different types of coaching, for example, to invest in, you don't know beforehand which one will really make you excel and really make your business grow and pop. So in the center, very low probability that exactly this investment will be the right one. So there's a low probability of having an ROI, but the possible ROI is much, much greater. The ROI potentially can be much, much higher than if we are in the outer layer, where we have a high probability of a return, but the return is quite low. And these different layers and these different types of investments work great together. Let's say you start out in the middle, in the core, investing in your own skills, which is a great way to start building that. And then you become more skilled in sales, marketing, making systems, etc. And then you start having a surplus, you start earning more money than you spend. Then you could put that into the outer layer, which gives stability and gives kind of a base to your business. And someone who has also talked about this is Warren Buffett. He has a quote where he says, "Investing is best when it is the most businesslike." So in other words, the closer to the core you are in that investment, the more sophisticated and the better that investment will be. For example, when Warren Buffett invested in Geico, for example, and he bought that whole insurance company, he then made sure that they started to use advertising, and that helped that company to grow enormously. So can you see here how he invested in another company, but then he made sure that they invested more in an inner circle of that onion. So they invested more in a very specific investment that made that company grow more. In my personal experience, I started out investing in the core center, and that gave a really high ROI, and that really helped me to grow as a person, and that enabled other types of investment. And later on, I've more transferred into the outer circle of investing in other companies and index funds. But recently, I have again started to invest in the core center because it's quite boring only doing the outer circle. So going back investing into the core center, that is much more exciting because you're really scraping on the surface to your own potential. What is the limit of your own potential, for example? And what are the skills, and how can you develop yourself? That then can help out the other process of continuing to invest in the outer circles. Also, I think it can be a great balance to invest in both, because when you invest in the outer circle, you know that you will have that stability, but also when you invest in the core center, there is a possibility for an exponential return that it would be a shame to not try that out and to be there. So, and you can see what percentages you want to invest in the outer circle, like in index funds or other companies, and what percentage you want to invest in your own core skills and in the center. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next week.